We dismiss history at our peril.
Liberty Nation Radio with Mark Angelides.
Welcome back to Liberty Nation Radio. It will come as little surprise to any of you that despite President Joe Biden's oft-repeated pledge that he'll unite this country, the nation appears more divided than ever before. This could be due to the highly partisan Congress in place, Biden's failures to address just about any issue that conservatives deem important, or it could just be that both sides of the political divide have just plain had enough of each other. We're speaking with Liberty Nation national columnist Sarah Cowgill, who writes one of the most popular and long-running Liberty Nation regulars, The Back 40, where she speaks to Heartlanders week in, week out to figure out just what ails the forgotten folk far from the coasts. Let's see if we can't figure out why the nation seems ripe for splitting. Welcome, Sarah.
Well, it's happy to be here, Mr. Mark.
Now, it seems to me that there's very little common ground between the Back 40 and the Washington, D.C. denizens. What's the driver of this wedge, in your opinion?
Well, it's been that way for quite some time, back when the city folks kind of took over. You know, when we've had so many presidents that are from big coastal areas, not like in the 30s and 40s and 50s, where people just kind of, war heroes, generals, that was the norm, and they were from everywhere. We had Texas presidents, from Texas, and to blend in with our coastal elites. But what seems to have happened is there's just a really, looking down the nose at people in the Midwest, or in the, as we call them, the flyover states. Like food doesn't matter, because guess who grows your food, and beef doesn't matter, and where do you think you get your steak? It's not, we're not the Jetsons. You don't just push a button. So I think they believe that we're all undereducated here, and that we grasp onto religion, and we like, to follow rules, but we also like to have guns in our home. And I don't think, that fits in with any ideal progressive left's view of good citizenry.
Was it Barack Obama who said that essentially the flyover folk are clinging to their Bibles and their guns, I believe?
Yes, he did. And, he wasn't popular with us.
So, I mean, is it possible that Hillary Clinton's basket of deplorables faux pas that was not so much an untimely slip, but is it perhaps more the prevailing view for those who earn their living from the taxpayer purse?
Yes, in a short answer, yes. It's fun to make fun of us, not, but you'll see what happens when you do. When you finally cross that line that is unacceptable, we vote. Heartlanders will go to the polls. They will speak up. They will put up with nonsense for so long, and then they up in the apple cart. And to be honest, you've got a whole group of people who are kind of tired of being told how stupid they are. They're no more stupid than the left, not understanding how the heck to communicate to people who don't live stacked up on top of each other like Legos. I mean, that's not our thing. We're not city people. We like wide open spaces.
Speaking of implying that people in the flyover states lack mental acuity, we had Vice President Kamala Harris, who recently implied that rural folks either couldn't use or didn't have access to such high-end technology as a photocopier. Now, this seems to smack of the same elitist attitude that toppled Hillary in 2016.
It's very elitist, and it's so wrong on so many levels. I mean, first of all, most farmers, and these are family small farmers, and when I say small farmers, I'm saying 1,000 acres or less of farmland that they run as a family business. Their offices are equipped with every latest gadget. Their combines are driven by computers. We're not out there with a horse and plow anymore. I mean, the level of technology that farmers use today, Kamala Harris wouldn't be able to understand it, even if somebody spelled it out for her. So to put that on us because we can't find a copier machine in the back 40, well, guess what? I know where the Kinko's is in the next town over. I know where the library is They do copies for you. I mean, it's just ridiculous to keep throwing nasty little barbs at Heartlanders.
Well,
It's
here's
not
the
going to
thing.
do anybody any good.
I figure that when she said something like that, when she said that, she was actually trying to make a case to other East Coast, West Coast elites, because obviously the people in the heartlands know just very well that they have computer-driven combine harvesters and computer office setups and things like this. So she was really trying to build, it seems, a sort of a buddy-buddy system with other people of her particular privilege to laugh at flyover folks, heartlanders, in order to get them to support her her position on voting. Does that make sense to you?
Makes no sense to me. I mean,
No, I mean my proposition. Does that make sense rather than her point of view?
It's ridiculous to just put this on the backs of Heartlanders. Like, it's fun to make fun of people. That's okay. But it's going to be more fun when you trip and fall down and you don't get back up into the Oval Office, ever. That's going to be what's fun for Heartlanders. They don't forget.
It seems that Heartlanders are the new Florida man. So speaking of being divisive, as Kamala Harris certainly has been, and Joe Biden, despite his promises of unity, seems to have driven the divisive wedge even further in. There was a recent Brightline YouGov poll that showed a fair amount of support for, let's call it a balkanized U.S., split into different regions. Now, although the prospects of this are highly unlikely in our lifetimes, is it something you think that Heartlanders of the future could get behind? And if so, why?
You know, it's interesting. I hear all the time in and around where I go and who I talk to and travel around in the flyover states, the Midwest, out to the Southwest, especially friends in Texas. Texas is like, we're ready anytime. You know, we've got a decent economy and we'll take a few states and we'll secede. And it's all in good fun. And it's really quite a utopian dream if you live anywhere, you know, in the Midwest area, because, you know, we're kind of tired of being overlooked. We're also tired of being treated like we're stupid. And the final, you know, like nail in the coffin for any liberal trying to win us over or win over these red, solid red, will always be red states is the fact that, you know, they can't get rid of us. I think if there was an ability to negotiate the deal, both the left and the right would embrace it. They would absolutely embrace it. You know, they'll carve out their own little red states and their little pocket of blue states and do what they got to do. But I think both sides of the equation at this point would easily jump on board that. They'd figure it out. We'd use the combine computers to figure it out. And, you know, we literally would be open to the discussion. Of course, you know, who's going to pay for the army if nobody wants to do this? you know, that's where we run into trouble. You can't
it's
fight
funny
the
that you
US
should
military.
mention Texas, because I once had a very dear friend, Bucky Hertner, who I met in the UK, and he was or claimed to be the ambassador consul general for the Republic of Texas to the European Union, which was part of a cessationist movement to make, under the Santa Ana Treaty or something, to make Texas a republic. And due to the numerous bottles of booze we had consumed together, he once anointed me a Knight of Texas. So if there ever is a cessation, I intend to fully claim that title.
Well, move there and become royalty. Heck yeah, we need nobility in Texas, like we need another hole in our heads.
Absolutely. Now, we're about questions and answers here on Liberty Nation Radio. So let me ask you, Sarah, what would bring the disaffected back to the fold?
September 12th, 2001. That's the last time this country was united against anything, and it was a common enemy. Today, you know, the right, the left, the random moderates, you know, everybody's at war with everybody. If you're a moderate, you don't fit with the nut jobs on the right or the nut jobs on the left. If you're trying to be a centrist, oh, we don't have time for you anymore. That's not the way our parties are going. And I don't think, barring an act of God, that there's going to be the Biden unity anytime soon.
Sarah Cowgill, thank you ever so much.
Hey, thanks, Mark.
Now, don't go anywhere. We'll be right back after this break and later in the show, looking at the serious infringements to liberty that are on the cards this week. We dismiss history at our peril.
Liberty Nation Radio with Mark Angelides. Who are we? We are Americans that believe in liberty. We are a project of the nonprofit One Generation Away. We are patriots who apply the founding principles to the issues of today.
And they keep moving the goalposts on us.
We are educators and commentators who love America and the Constitution. Who are we? We are Liberty Nation.